My Pixel Fold overheated on me yesterday. Here's the story. So, a little bit of backstory and a little bit of setting, just so you can understand the context of how it overheated, why, and all that good stuff. So, I had a telehealth appointment on my phone, and I had my primary SIM. I'm using it with the Pixel Fold at the moment. Went to go have lunch with my mom, which I accidentally double booked my appointment. So, my appointment was for 11:30, and I had to go out in my car to go do it, but I had like preconditioned my car with my Tesla to make sure it was like 60 degrees and frosty in there before I got in, because I was going to sit in there for a little while. I thought it was going to be 5 or 10 minutes because telehealth appointments really never last that long for me. But anyway, it ended up being almost a half an hour appointment that was ended abruptly because the phone overheated and it basically shut everything off except for the screen, and it was a pretty bad mess because I'd been waiting over a month for this appointment. And yes, I know I was waiting for over a month. I had it on my calendar. I was excited about it. But at the same point in time, yeah, I also forgot it was that day. I was supposed to do a lot of stuff yesterday, but it ended up happening. So, waiting for the appointment, go out there, car set on 60, pull it up using Google Meet. So the appointment used Google Meet. So this isn't like it was some third-party video software that shouldn't be like not optimized, any of that crazy stuff. So I'm sitting there on the video conference thing with the doctor, and maybe like 10, 15 minutes in, I notice it starts getting really hot, like really, really hot. And I have the Google official case on here. It felt warm and hot here, but I changed my grip, and then I was holding it, more over here. And this part, the exposed metal part, was like crazy hot. I was like, wow, I have never felt a Pixel get this hot before. But it hadn't overheated yet, it hadn't done anything. And then maybe about the 25-minute mark, I get a heat warning that pops up on the screen saying that the phone's really hot. I didn't know it was going to actually start shutting off essential services and stuff. The only time I've ever had a Pixel phone overheat is in the past when I had the Pixel 5a, and I was trying to record 4K video, and it would overheat in like 3 minutes outside. Like, it was crazy. So I knew it was getting hot. It felt really, really hot, but at the same time, it was still working. So I'm like, okay. And then the video quality started getting really bad, and I believe it shut off 5G and switched to LTE because the video started getting really choppy, and then I could see the LTE where it shows the network band up at the top of the screen. Like, normally up at the top, you see like the little connection and stuff. So it said LTE up there, and the connection quality started degrading quickly, but it was still working. So I'm like, okay, cool. Hopefully this appointment's only going to be like another 5 or 10 minutes. We're getting kind of to like the wrap-up portion, which was also frustrating because I was missing out on my lunch because I went to a hibachi with my mom, ate some sushi, and then as soon as they started cooking the food, it's like, oh, holy cow, I got to go do this appointment. So, yeah, 30 minutes later, I come in, most of the table's gone at like Benihana's. It was like a knockoff Benihana's, and my mom had already eaten her lunch. So, maybe I should thank the Pixel Fold for cutting off and not causing me another 5 more minutes of appointment. But yeah, it ended my appointment, and then I couldn't get back into the appointment because it shut off the internet, and I couldn't do anything with the phone. It was effectively useless other than just kind of holding it and it being really, really hot. But yeah, it just straight up shut off. It shut the internet off. It shut my camera off. And yeah, that's what happened with my Pixel Fold. Now, a lot of us know and have experienced heat-related issues, and I tell people, look, if you leave the camera on a long time, if you do GPS stuff, if you do, like, it gets hot when you do GPS, but I've never experienced it getting this hot. And I also have other concerns, because if I was outside, it would overheat a lot faster. It was 60 degrees in my car. And this wasn't like, okay, I put it on 60 degrees and I got in the car. I preconditioned the car, like, I knew I was going to have to go out there, so I left the car basically running with the air conditioning on in anticipation of having to sit in it. So I had the air conditioner on 60, and I noticed as it was getting hot, I was kind of holding it in front of the ventilation, like the air vent, to try and keep it cooler. So I'm sitting here actively trying to talk to this doctor on the telehealth appointment. I'm trying to keep the phone cool, just understanding how hot the phone is, and the sucker still shut off on me. So I can only imagine if I was outside and it was 90 degrees or 80 degrees or 95 or like 108 like it is now here in Houston. It's been like 106, 108, 109. Yeah, I could only imagine if I was standing outside how much more quickly it would have overheated as opposed to the 60-degree air blowing on it environment in my car. So this is one of the main reasons that I was very, very upset that they put the Google Tensor 2 in this phone. it's had heat-related issues. We know this. I didn't experience too many of them with my Pixel 7 or 7 Pro, but they've been very, very apparent in my Pixel Fold, and it's ridiculous because this phone costs $1,800. How does this phone cost $1,800? I'm using Google Meet, and I can't even do a half an hour FaceTime video conferencing call in a 60-degree environment. That's completely unsatisfactory. Unsat. That's not cool. And it really made me mad because, like I said, I've been waiting. I had to schedule this appointment like a month ago. It was like almost 5 weeks. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And it got cut off at the end. Thankfully, the doctor emailed me like, hey, I'm sorry we got cut off. Here's what I was going to say for the rest of the appointment. So things didn't like go completely awry. But yeah, it could have been more catastrophic and they could have charged me. Shoot, probably. I don't know. Doctors will charge for anything, just like most phone companies. But yeah, not cool, Google. This is why you shouldn't have used a Google Tensor 2, and this is why I've actually been complaining about this phone for the last, I don't know, month or two, because I've said that my phone keeps getting hot. Do just basic stuff, like I use YouTube, watch YouTube for 15 minutes, my phone is warm. I bought one of those infrared heat gun things just so I could try and capture and show y'all how hot this phone gets from using it for basic daily tasks. Now, as long as I'm texting, that's about the only thing that doesn't heat it up. But yeah, almost every day, probably 2, 3, 4 times a day, I'll be doing something simple on my phone for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm like, wow, my phone's warm again. And I mean, it's not burning my hand, but it's one of those things where it just takes you out of the moment, whatever you're doing, because you're like, why is this phone getting hot when no other phone on creation other than like the BlackBerry Priv and the LG G Flex back in the day ever got this hot for me? And it's especially not cool for an $1,800 phone. So this is one, like I said from the get-go, this thing needed to have the Tensor 3 in it. We know this thing has issues with the modem. We know that the Tensor 2 has issues with managing heat and overheating in certain situations. We've been talking about it for over a year. Well, basically a year, because October is when the Pixel 7 came out. So this Tensor project is not going all that great. Like there are certain aspects of it that have been really good, but this whole marriage with Samsung and their older technology, because it still has an older modem in it. We knew when the phone came out, it still had an inferior modem compared to Qualcomm and Intel. And well, I think Intel sold their stuff to Apple a long time ago. But anyway, yeah. So we don't have these problems with other phones, and it should not be a problem in an $1,800 plus tax phone. So that's my story. I'm quite angry about it because it's just it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like, we should not have to be dealing with these sorts of problems with any phone, much less one that costs basically $2,000. So that's my story. Just wanted to share that with you guys. And I don't think it's fixable. Like, I really don't think there's any way they can fix it because, well, this chip's like a year old, and you think they would be their best and their brightest to fix this. So yeah, the heat issues have not been fixed on my phone, and this is the first case I've ever actually overheated my one of my Pixel phones, like one of my Tensor-based Pixel phones. So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, please, of course, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If your phone is overheated, if you had heat-related concerns, please, of course, share them. I'd love to hear about that as well. And if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.